We are back with round three of the UK in-house league. I am Whimsy now, manning the cast. Alongside me is Leavin as we get ready for our third game of the evening. Team 6, Monkey Flip on Ice, back on the stream. This time they're going up against Team 8, relegated refugees. And both these teams 1-1, so uh, definitely will be looking for a win here just to kind of get themselves back on the positive here for the UK in-house league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both teams starting out with a win, then losing their second game. So we can't continue the wave scenario where they will now win their game again because they have to play against each other. So it will be interesting to see which team will come out on top. I think both teams will be quite closely matched. Their champion pools, I looked a bit at their OPGGs, they are very similar. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially how the draft will play out.
Yeah, certainly. Definitely a lot of fighting for these contested picks. I think especially towards obviously the classic, you see the jungle and the bot lane roles. You'll always see kind of people fighting for priority there. So imagine that would be the key grabs for either side. And I'm curious to see where they prioritize in both of these situations. But like you said, this will be a big game for momentum here for both these teams. We just saw on stream Monkey Flip on Ice have put up a good fight. They had a very rough start in that game, but managed to kind of hold out for quite some time. In the end, though, not enough to take it. They go down to 1-1, and yeah, they'll be looking to bounce back here. Jumping in champ select in just a couple of seconds as well. So we'll see what the plan is here. They will be on the blue side this time around. So we'll see what kind of priority they can grab for themselves with that B1 pick.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what we've seen in pro play and also in semi-pro a lot is usually you go for a jungler in first pick, the Udyr, a Hecarim, sometimes Lilia, or for a mid laner. So it will be interesting to see, of course, jungle pool if it get champions get spanned. We saw it somewhere in chat where someone was asking, when will we see a jungler that is not Volibear, Hecarim, or Udyr? Well, we might also see Lilia, but the fifth jungler, we don't know.
Yeah, there's been a couple popping up, different places around the day. I've seen some Kane, some Olaf, but I mean, for the most part, the there's been those key priority picks in the jungle for good reason. We've seen Hecarim and Udyr kind of live there as the kings for quite some time. Lilia as well has her own place there, and Volibear recently as this more gank heavy alternative. We are jumping into champ select now for this, and we'll see the first few bans coming through. Senna, Yone, the first two takeaways here. The Yone especially making sense as its splat key champion pick, whereas the Senna being denied from Dante, also just going for these key comfort picks for both of these players.
Yeah, I mean, targeting the comfort champions, of course. It's also these teams, they've just been made for today. They have not played together for
Hmm.
any amount of time. So if you get those comfort picks out, because that is usually what players will go to when they are in a new environment. So we also see the Jinx being bent out, which was played by Dante last game. So we're now waiting. Hecarim is also banned.
Yep. So there's the first major jungle pick being banned away. We'll see if there's any sort of response from Blue Team here to try manipulate that jungle pool before they come to their own first pick. 280 carries being banned away from Dante. So clearly a lot of focus being paid towards him just to ensure that they don't have this big 80 carry that they're coming up against. Jinx, especially one of the very strong 80 carries in the game right now. Huge late game threat you have to be worried about. But they're also going to pay some attention to the jungle pool as well. They're going to make sure that the volley bear is taken away, and will give the red team a few more things here to think about.
Yeah, I'm expecting either an Udyr ban or a Seraphine ban because both of those champions I think
Hmm.
are still first pick worthy, especially if you look at the champion pools of these players. So I Seraphine gets banned away, then I'm expecting probably an Udyr pick. Said they are hovering the Yorick.
Yeah, we'll see what they do go for. Udyr is pretty good option, I think, just in general. You generally jump on it when it does make itself available, but there's still quite a few power picks open. Another one is that Tristana in the bot lane, especially with the Jinx being taken away. The S tier bot lane options are kind of being thinned out, and Tristana, pretty good go to here. Does keep the Udyr on the table, though, and still quite a few options for red side as they come to their first two.
Yeah, of course, Kaisa is one of the other AD carries that is also still open. Saya as well, which can be quite good, but usually they don't scale as well into the late game as Tristana because of the range. But what does scale very well is a Kog'Maw.
Yeah, Kog'Maw being grabbed here. likely for that bot lane. I think the Lulu is going to further signify that. We did see some Kog'Maw mid towards the latter stages of the UKEL, so that's kind of still fresh in the mind. But obviously, more traditionally, when paired with Lulu, a very, very potent late game threat. And Dante, while having those two champions banned away from him, has definitely more tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Kog'Maw Lulu, they just want to scale and be a terror in the team fights, but there's still a lot of engaged champions being able to be picked up. Like the Rel, Lilia can also be picked up as one of the better
Mm.
junglers to catch someone out with the sleep. So, okay, you lock in Kog'Maw Lulu, it's a very strong scaling bot lane, but it can still get punished quite hard.
Yeah, that's the name of the game, I think, just to keep that Kog'Maw out of the game for as long as possible. And Dunlosi gonna go for the Lilia here with his jungle priority. We'll see if blue team look to also match that support position. And potentially they do. The Karma is a potential support option, but that could also be flexed. Keeps them quite open as we move towards the second round of bans.
Yeah, and also in the support position, I actually quite like it because of the poke. It makes that Kokmolulu they don't really get to farm as well as they would like to, because if you get poked down, you have to just back off because otherwise your Tristana jumps in. And good luck with that, as Nocturne does get locked in now.
The Nocturne. Once again, another possible flex. A few different options for it, and we'll see where they do look to pop that as we have seen it gain more and more relevance in the solo lanes recently. So I think quite a bit for both of these teams to think about as we move towards the second round of bans, and still a lot for them to have to potentially cover with all these flex options. So I imagine they'll just go back to kind of taking away as many more comfort picks as they can, as well as some key strong champions that are still up and available. Oriana being a pretty good option to deny.
Yeah, one thing I do also really like about the Nocturne pick, something that's very underappreciated, is the ultimate paranoia. Not only can it give you very good engage, but it's also very good disengage too, because once the darkness comes in, well, you can't see the enemy Pokemon anymore. So how will you ever engage onto him? How will you ever shut him down? So that's another very good, could be very good usage of that ultimate paranoia. As we see Heimer being banned away, of course, Fault is a bit of a Heimer one trick, and we see another strong engaged champion in the Malphite banned away as well.
Yeah, just taking away some big team fight options from blue side here, and we'll see what they choose to do with that. I like the point that you said about the Nocturne. We may see that come into play in game, especially in some of these more split fights where you can kind of divide the enemy team with that darkness coming down, and that may come into play. Urgot being the last ban, pretty key takeaway from Daily Muppets in that top lane. It's something he's been spamming in solo queue, so just ensuring that he's not getting his hands on that here. And I'm curious as to what the priority here is here for red team with this fourth pick. They'll be looking to set themselves up for that clean counter at the end, but right now, still a lot of different ways they could go.
Yeah, I'm expecting just to see a safe mid laner being picked, maybe something like the Syndra, something that can disengage or engage. As we see the Pike locked in,
Oh, okay.
that might be a Pike mid, or it's going to be a Lulu flex to the top or mid lane.
Yeah, I'm thinking initially you see it, and I was just committed to the Kog'Maw Lulu bot lane, but now that could be a Lulu going somewhere else, and we kind of had our ankles broken here with this draft. Still quite a few options for blue team to consider here, given where these champions could go. And the Caitlyn lock in as well. That's another flex coming through. The Tristana now probably slotting into that mid lane. We're getting a lot of different flexes coming through here in this draft. A lot of champions kind of going to other roles, but which is good to see that these players are adapting on the fly and making use of these powerful flex picks here. As we have two more to go.
Yeah, definitely. I think Karma will go into the support position, as the one thing Team 6 really lacks is a front line. Instead, they put Karma in top lane and pick Blitzcrank to really get that engage potential against the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, I do not think that Dante will want to get anywhere near this Blitzcrank towards the later stages of the game. One hook without his Lulu nearby, and he could find himself in a tricky position. But right now, just looking at the last option here, a few mid lane hovers. So looking like we may see Lulu or the Pike go towards that top side, as the Azir is going to be the last pick here into that Tristana in the mid lane. Actually, getting a remade draft as potentially that was some placeholders there. I mean, all those picks seem relatively legit, so we'll see what the full draft comes to at the end. But certainly, I mean, interested to see how both these compositions work, as there was a lot of different toing and froing in terms of how these flex picks were coming through.
Yeah, I'm expecting that it is the Pike that was a proxy pick, and instead they will look in a better frontline top lane or something like the Ornn maybe, because well, a Kog'Maw very strong if you can deal DPS, but you need a front line to stand behind because otherwise you're just gonna get engaged on. You're gonna get hooked by Blitzcrank, and good luck right clicking if you're in the middle of an enemy team. So I'm expecting to see something like the Ornn picked up instead of the Pike, but only time will tell as we're waiting for the picks to come out.
Yeah, something like an Ornn or a Scion just to stand in the front and block anything coming through, allowing the Kog'Maw and the Azir to kind of spit out their damage. It's a Maokai instead, which once again another great frontline champion. Definitely happy to just sit in front and tank anything coming his team's way. Taking that into the Karma in the top lane, as we now have full information on the comps. It will be that Nocturne going into the jungle. No fancy solo lane Nocturne for today. I'm curious to see how he kind of fits into this team composition, which has a lot of strong DPS in the late game. But I think also around this paranoia, especially, they could play quite nicely for picks too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Maokai Nocturne, that's enough to lock a single champion down for at least 4 or 5 seconds. If that's any champion in range of Kog'Maw, you are most definitely dead because Kog'Maw, Azir, those two champions, they deal insane DPS, especially the longer the game goes. But the same can be said for Tristana. If she scales, the range will only go higher, and then she will just be able to deal so much free damage as well. And I think any Blitzcrank hook that hits when it's not Maokai will be a kill.
Yeah, I think that Hinamori's Blitzcrank here could be a real game changer towards those late stages, because when the Kog'Maw and the Azir are alive, that's heaps of damage coming out. But just one hook, like you said, onto a priority target will completely disrupt that. And suddenly you're facing off against Tristana Caitlyn, who, in their own right, are carries that are going to be tearing through you in the later stages of the game. So, certainly, if big performance comes out of this Blitzcrank, it could really tip the entirety of this game in favor of Blue Team. It's a curious cup overall. Like I said, there's a few picks that could have gone into different roles. You were pointing out the Karma support, which could have been a good option, especially paired with the Caitlyn. That is a very potent lane to have to go against. But now going to the top side against this Maokai allows for a more supportive overall look for this composition, as you have the Blitzcrank and the Karma kind of pairing up to cover both the more engaged side of the supporting and the Enchanter side. But certainly as well, like you said, the one thing that I would worry about is relative to having this Maokai up front of the extra defenses from the Lulu. I'm not sure that there's this big, beefy front line for Blue Team here to maybe sustain some of the extended damage coming through.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I'm thinking about it a bit. If they would just have a simple frontliner, maybe the Ornn, how will we ever get onto Kog'Maw? Because Maokai is very good at keeping champions away. Same for Lulu. And if you cannot get onto Kog'Maw, if you cannot zone him away, then you're just gonna get melted by the DPS from Kog'Maw and Azir. So I think having the extra range, having more poke with the Karma, and also the threatening hook from the Blitzcrank, that can create more pressure than a single frontliner just because of the zoning potential it can give, and really does not allow Kog'Maw to walk up unless Maokai is really far up in the fight. So it's okay. They lack a frontline, but because of the lack of engage besides the Nocturne, I think they will be able to deal with it.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like I said, if red team can't snap off a clean engage, then they are going to find it tricky to stick to a lot of the defensive, the get out of this fight tools that blue side have. They can speed away with the help of the Karma Shield. All the two main carries have good disengage tools if needs be, and it's just generally peel across the board for them. So they could use that quite nicely. They can also be fairly picky and choosy with their engages. Lilia, right now, one of her key strengths is that she has this great non-committal engage where you can kind of just fish for it. And if you apply enough stacks of her passive onto anyone, you just pop down the lilting lullaby, and suddenly you have people primed for the damage coming through. So Dunlosi, he was a key performer in the UKL, one of the top junglers in the entire tournament. So if he's going to stand out here, Lilia could be a great champion for his team to do so here in this game.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we're not yet into the loading screen, but I am expecting to see at least a cleanse onto the Zero, maybe as well on the Kog'Maw, just so they can run away from that sleep if they were to get hit by the something, any spell from Lilia that can put them to sleep. So besides that, I think both teams they want to play the game quite slow. They just want to skill. I think the bot lane of Team Six they will have a bit more push potential. Caitlyn and Blitzcrank they just want to push the enemy on their turrets and then fish for hooks, fish for poke with the Caitlyn and just get a couple plates. While on the top side, it's a tank against a support. Nothing will happen there.
Yeah, the top lane will be not necessarily the wet noodle fight that you're normally used to, where it's just two tanks slapping each other for about 10-15 minutes. The Karma should have pretty good shove, but at the same time, I doubt that Jojo really has much kill threat in this scenario. It would likely take some jungle intervention, but you can imagine that maybe they'll be left more on an island as the focus would be more towards kind of taking control of the bot side of the map where all the carries are focused and trying to get either your mid lane or your bot lane more ahead because they'll be the ones doing all the damage. And if they're in a position where they're leading these team fights, then that'll probably work in the favor of whichever team can get either of these big carries ahead.
Yeah, and as we're now getting into the loading screen, I'm not sure yet if it's on stream, but there's no. Okay, then okay, we are not yet there, but I can just talk about it. There's no cleanse on Kog'Maw or Azir. It's instead a barrier for both those champions. They instead of going for the safety with the cleanse, they go for a different type of safety, get the barrier, really just try to survive a bit more burst coming out from maybe the Tristana damage, or if they were to get hooked by the Blitzcrank.
Yeah, does allow them that little bit of extra instant survivability. Also opting for the heal for Levi on that Lulu as well. So definitely will be tricky to work through all those summoners in the bot lane to keep this Kog'Maw and Lulu alive. But yeah, certainly, like you said, maybe they'll be a little bit more prone to falling afoul of Lily Ultimate wherever Dunlosie's able to find that. But for the most part as well, there's other options for them to kind of sustain a bit of the damage here. We're just delayed a little bit before we start this game. We should be jumping in just a minute or two, and we'll see which of these teams can take their second win of the competition here. Just having a quick look at some of the other keystones coming out. Is there anything, Leavin, that grabs your attention or your fancy?
Well, I do think that the comet coming out from Azir, instead of going for maybe something more trade heavy like the health plates or even the electrocute, means that he wants to play it very safe. He just wants to sit back, and once the spells are up, he just throws them at the enemy Tristana, try to get a bit of poke down. But besides that, he's not gonna really win the trades because I mean Tristana with health plates and an ignite level 2, you can jump in and get a solo kill already. So I think Fault has to be really careful in that lane to not get solo killed, and that then also means that you will lose priority, and then Lilia can just maybe even go for invades. I think Nocturne is very strong in the 1v1, but he struggles if he gets kited away. As okay, we might be seeing an invade coming out.
Some shenanigans on the top side here from blue team, and they will be spotted out by Daily Muppets on the Maokai. He is just going to back off as soon as he sees that, pops a ward into Tribrush, gives the information to the rest of his team, but they're not going to stop. They're going to creep around the side and push for more territory here. You can immediately see the counter invade in that bottom side as Levi and Fault press forward to get some wards down so they can have as much information as possible as to where these junglers are starting and where they're going to be going with the first few levels of this game.
Yeah, and I mean, they did get spotted out by a ward. Now they are sitting in another bush with the ward, so they will know that everything is happening, but they don't have any wards of themselves, so it was a free invade for the rest of Team 8, being able to get some wards down, maybe even set a little trap up when the rest from Team 6 are heading back to the bot lane.
Yeah, multiple members camped out in this bot side jungle, and actually Shake, with the help of his team, going to see if he can steal away these Raptors to start off, although he does have Splat firing away at him over the wall. A lot of damage onto this Nocturne. He's hooked back in, and Ignite has gone down. Shake has to flash away from this one, but they're going to follow. First blood to Hanamori on the Blitzcrank. The combo will try to see if he can trade one back, and that one actually goes over to Levi, so that is a 1-for-1 in that bot side jungle. Dante, see if he can stick with the trade, but he has to use the barrier. Splash just jumps back in, jumps back out. 2 kills for blue team. It's a 2-for-1 at level 1, as despite all that extra information red team had, trying to steal away those Raptors was maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, and it also means that it was even in a 4v3. It was the bot lane, mid lane, and jungler coming out from team 8 versus only bot lane and mid. But the power of the Hill of Blades, of the double ignites versus no ignites, and just the Tristana being able to jump around made it very easy for them to win that fight. And also because Dunlozy was not in that fight, he is already up a couple camps, 12 CS to 6. Already getting a good start in the jungle.
Yeah, Dunlozy just kind of keeping an eye on the Nocturne dying on the bottom side of the map. Like, well, I'm just going to farm what I can. Takes everything on that top side here. So Shig's early game has been well and truly destroyed, to say the least here. Dunlozy will be miles ahead of him for quite some time. And as Nocturne, a champion who is so dependent on getting that level 6 as well, so he can get the paranoia and start making big plays with his ultimate, that's going to be devastating for here, as Shig's going to be missing out on that crucial XP for quite some time.
Yeah, definitely. And we also see like every single lane from Team 6 is already just getting pushed in. And that only makes it much more difficult for Shig to farm, because it allows Dunlozy to go for invades when he has that prio, as we might see a fight in the bottom scuttle crap area.
Viper Fangirl and Hanama are using their priority to see if they can potentially contest that, but not enough numbers in the area. They're just going to leave it. However, that's just one Scuttle Crab for Shig. He's going to go back to his top side. His Raptors have respawned, but for the most part, he's going to be missing a few of those camps in that area, whereas Dunlozy can just go clear the bot side that's been left for him this entire time. You can already see just very early gold lead already has manifested for blue team here in these first 4 minutes, based off of the kills coming through, and as well as the advantages that they've managed to get, especially in this jungle position. So I'd say they're going to be pretty happy with how this game has started out, and we'll see especially how this Lilia can transfer that lead into further advantages.
Yeah, definitely. As well, we maybe see Shig going for a gank as Maokai goes in.
Flash route coming through here. Jojo in a lot of trouble. He uses his own flash. Shig trying to follow with the damage, but despite the fear, would have to go into terror range. He's just going to back off. Flash is traded in the top lane.
Yeah, both flashes traded. That I think makes it easier for Shig to maybe go for a return gank. Really try and punish that Karma for pushing in daily under his turret all the time. As, I mean, Shig shows again on the map, and that opens up Dunlozy to go for another invade. Except this time all the jungle camps are already still dead, and Rump does respawn, so will be one camp stolen away, but that only means that the jungle lead will keep growing and growing.
We see top side though, Lady Muppets considering another play. However, this time as soon as that Maokai W comes down, Jojo knows what's up. He's just going to back off from that one, cede some ground for the moment. Definitely a split map here between these two junglers, but once again, it seems as if Dunlozy is the key beneficiary, as he's got 2 camps from that bot side jungle here. Levi's going to walk in to find that everything's been cleared. Maybe he's not going to stop the base here from the Azir as well. I think it's more of a nuisance than any attempt at a dive here, really, especially now with Shig covering, but they're looking to get a plate here for Splat as well, as with that kill now, a plate on top of it, this Tristana is reeling in a lot of early gold.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just the one thing that does happen. If you pick a full scaling comp, it means that in the early game, you're a lot weaker. You're gonna get pushed in. You're gonna, especially early on, lose that gold advantage. As in the mid lane and in the bottom lane, there's CS leads growing, third plates are already going down, and all the objectives are as well just going towards Team 6, as the Cloud Drake will get picked up.
Dunlozy has to smite a little bit early, but there's no contest on this, so no worry about that. Cloud Drake goes over to blue team to start this off, and Ocean next on the board, so it's either Infernal or Mountain Soul. Be keeping tabs on that when that comes up. But already 1,500 gold lead, first Drake over as well. The party continues for blue team in this early game, as they've managed to manifest their early advantage quite well, especially around this mid lane.
Yeah, okay. Is she going for a hook? Will she? Okay, no. No hook coming out as the bot lane from teammate has recalled. And in the top lane now, for Daily, we do see him getting quite a big wave. Shake is in the top lane, not yet level 6. I think he will get it in 1 or 2 camps as Jojo, well, he does not care that the wave gets pushed in. He just goes in for a trade and wins it.
That Maokai can't exactly stick around, even though his jungler is close by. He's probably dying for a recall anyway, given that he hasn't since the start of the game. It'd be nice for him to get some items in the inventory so he can withstand a little bit coming up from the Karma. Hook connects in the bot lane, and Dante taking a bit of damage. Looks to trade it back, but as the Ignite goes down, the Kog'Maw has to reconsider. However, sticking in the pocket, a lot of damage onto Hinamori. Has to back off here, and Dante still firing away. These hooks not ensuring a positive trade here for this blue team bot lane, and Splat, he was walking around the area trying to see if he could make something happen. Speaking of making something happen, Shig, offering Paranoia topside, gonna follow with all the crowd control here, and I don't think there's anything getting the Karma out of this. No flash, no chance. Jojo goes down.
Yeah, and I mean, then it's level 6. It is a bit delayed, but once you get it, it is the unleashed. So now see another.
Yes, Lilting Lullaby used. Emperor's Divide to try and knock him back, but it doesn't matter. Splap already has the damage. Buster Shot comes through. Meanwhile, bot side, they managed to get a kill as Levi's backed off from the Kog'Maw, and that's kills in mid and bot here. And just as they lose their top laner, blue team strike back.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked about, okay, well, Nocturne is unleashed with level 6, but so is Dunlosi. The sleep can be very effective. The 2-second sleep that you go into allows Splash to just deal an insane amount of damage getting that bomb off. And, well, Jojo, he TP's back in the top lane, and he continues with that lane dominance, continues winning all the trades as Daily Muppet still no items except that one Doran's shield.
Yeah, he's going to get a base off now, so he can finally catch a break out of this top lane. We'll probably have to teleport back to avoid losing too much here. He's already given over a plate to Jojo, who can recoup some of that lost gold that he would have had from giving over the kill. Meanwhile, Dunlosi taking advantage of that brief topside pressure to grab his team a Rift Herald. They should be able to use that to knock down some plates. We pan over to mid lane, and Splaff's already got 4 for himself, so I don't really want to look at how much gold this Tristana already has sitting in her pocket. Certainly a massive lead. Already 1,500 gold over his lane opponent. This has just been the perfect early game that Splaff could have asked for.
Yeah, and okay, Dante has to be careful. Steps in another trap, does not get hooked this time, but okay, you want to go for the scaling comp, but if you keep dying over and over, and like you've already given away a 3k gold lead, when does it become too much? When does the scaling no longer matter and the snowballing from Team 6 will just kick in? Because, well, they also scale quite well. Caitlyn and Tristana, they do very well once they get their crit items. They get a lot of amplified damage. So I do think, okay, the insane late game DPS is there from Team 8, but if you're gonna fall behind in gold, it's not gonna matter.
Oh jeez, Gale Force used to just put him in position to finish that one off. Shig try to avenge his fallen mid laner, but Splash just flashing away to get out of dodge there. 3-0 and 1. This Tristana keeps on rolling.
Yeah, another kill. Already the kill force completed, and it's only a Seeker's Arm Guard from Vault. I see no way how he will win those trades, and Paranoia was used in the mid lane, but Shake is going for a gank.
Turning his attention to the bot lane here. Fear onto Hinamori. Viper Fangirl having to flash it away, but they have more than enough damage to finish off the Blitzcrank. The Kog'Maw ultimate trying to finish off this Caitlyn, but Viper Fangirl far enough away, and Dunlosi trying to turn the play around here. Lilting Lullaby only onto the Kog'Maw, but that's more than enough. Viper Fangirl fighting that one with the tilt over Peacemaker. Does lose his jungler though, and overall it's a 2-4-1 in the bot lane for Red Team.
Yeah, I mean, nice play there. They do get 2 kills compared to only 1, getting a bit of gold back onto their carry into Dante, but Levi, he picked up a kill as well. 2 kills for him as, okay, Splaff might get caught.
Yeah, Splaff, as soon as he sees that, going to fire away, but maybe the wall growth will give actually Shig the chance to turn that play around. Big shutdown coming through for this Nocturne as finally they managed to drop Splaff.
Yeah, they do it, and Drake's also up. Dunlosi has just respawned, is coming out of his base to try and maybe contest, but it's gonna be a 4v3 for sure. If you get a good hook, they don't. Drake will go over, and Drakes are tied up. Gold lead is now back to only 3k, and I do think it's very good that Team 8 have been able to get these picks because they get a bit more gold onto Dante, who can get close to his first item, being able to survive a bit more, maybe win those trades. And also, I think very important, Shake. Him with a bit more gold, if he gets that Stride Breaker, he is going to be a terror to deal with if you are a squishy target.
Yep, certainly he will be gunning for, I think, especially this Tristana. Splaff obviously has a lot of defensive tools, but if she can just stick to him long enough that they can take him out of the fight, that is going to deny a heap of damage from blue team's team fight towards these later stages of the game. So he'll certainly be happy that he's picked up that shutdown, cruising towards the Stride Breaker himself. You can see the Chem Tank finished for Daily Muppets in that top lane as well. So he's ticking along nicely. The mid laner's lagging behind. Their bot lane maybe as well. Here's Dante hooked into the bush, taken down by Splash, who jumps forward, trying to find number 2 onto the Lulu. No escape. Ace in the hole. Doesn't matter. Splash going to steal that one away. Double kill for the Tristana, and they're going to turn that into pressure bot lane here. Paranoia used top side, but I don't think it matters so much as Rift Herald is used here to push those plates. Jojo using a flash off screen to get himself away from that, as the rest of his team is doing a ton more damage on this bottom side of the map.
Yeah, as we now see flash forward, but the movement speed from Jojo is just too much and he can run away. I was about to make a point about the Gale for short Tristana, how I don't really like it. I would have rather seen the Kraken Slayer because, well, late game you will have a bit of trouble getting through a tank if you do not have the Kraken Slayer. So Daily Muppets, who is doing quite fine, is 1-0-0, has his first item already completed. He will be difficult to deal with, but what we did then see with the Gale Force, you can just blow up squishy targets like it's nothing. The extra missing health damage in combination with the jump, in combination with the bomb and Hill of Blades. Well, I mean, you can't kill tanks, but what if you can just jump past the tanks and kill the squishies instead?
Yeah, I think that's going to be, a key there, just ignoring that front line here. We'll see if Splaff's on point with that. Crossmap play was pretty nice, I think, coming out of red side there, but at the same, I mean, you're only getting plates on a Maokai relative to the prize that blue team were able to get bottom side of the map. It's a lot less here, and now they're looking to see if they can try grab the last tier 1 tower. Hook doesn't connect onto Daily Muppets here, but they're still going to try poke out this Maokai, force the wild growth out of Levi here. And Fault is in the area as well, so spot out Dunlosi. So a lot of the setup coming through, not exactly. Meanwhile, Jojo has had to deal with this Nocturne the entire game. This time they're going to give the kill over to the Kog'Maw. So able to get something bot side, but they just have to cede all pressure top yet again as these rotations coming through from blue team, enabling them to get tower after tower.
Yeah, 3-3 to 0 already this early on, as it's a 4k gold lead for now, but if it continues like this, especially with that next Rift Herald, I'm expecting to see it grow by a lot over the next 5 to 10 minutes. And once the Baron spawns, you have double ADC, you have shielding from a Karma. We could maybe even see a 20-minute Baron attempt coming out from Team 6 if they will maintain this gold lead.
Yep, there's a lot of options for them as well, given that the current pressure they have. There's so much ability for them to gain vision on that top side of the map, and they've got a Blitzcrank who can just sit in bushes and try pick people off. It's going to be very difficult for Red Team to try push back against the control that blue team should have here, that they've been able to buy. And just looking at these different this gold differences, Splaff, every time we go back, he's just accelerated another 1,000 gold ahead. He is miles in front on this Tristana. We also see that developing over to Viper Fangirl as well, who's now about 1,500 gold up over this Kog'Maw. We know that Dante and Fault are going to be strong, but they're so far off it right now. And for the moment, they're just being torn apart by champions who also scale quite well into the late game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the one thing we haven't really talked about, the wave clear. I mean, Kog'Maw, he does not really have a lot, but I think Azir has a very decent wave clear once he gets at least 2-3 items. He will just burn through waves. So if he can get some gold for himself, he will be able to stall the game quite well. It's not something like an Anivia who can stall permanently, but it can be very crucial if maybe an inhib gets taken. It will be easy for Val to then pick up every single super mini wave and get a lot more gold back in his pocket and try and close that gold gap, because that's what you have to do. If you stay behind 3-4k in gold, you're just going to be behind more than one item. I mean, the damage is just not going to be comparable because, well, it's non-existent versus a lot on the other side. So it will be difficult for now, but I think later on it will be a bit easier for the side of Team A to just sit back and farm up.
I mean, later on it will be, but it's a case of almost whether they get to that point now, as we see Fall once again being hunted down by Splap. The Gale Force, the flash use, try to finish off that kill, but it's not going to be enough just yet. And now maybe a punish coming through, although there is second Rift Herald used to take that bot lane tower. Viper Fangirl is caught out alone and shut down by this Kog'Maw, as abandoned by the rest of their team here. Daily Muppets, though, has also been abandoned. Splap going to take down the Maokai here and go on to a killing spree as they get a Rift Herald charge onto that bot tier 3 as well, continuing their push in that area. Jake is constantly making these plays in other areas of the map, but given just the towers being dropped in response here, they're giving up a lot in terms of pressure every time that plays are being made by blue team.
I mean, still, every single 1-for-1 trade you can get, you will just go for it, because it does mean you get more gold, and the more gold everyone gets, the less relevant it will be, because percentage-wise, the leads will shrink. So going for 1-for-1 trades, it just means that you will get closer to your item spikes, and once you get those item spikes, it will be easier to win fights. But until then, it's still only one item on everyone. Well, Fault, he is still stuck on some components. That's got to change before anyone on Team 8 can really start fighting.
It really is, Graham. It's obviously just a snapshot right now. He's close to finishing what I'm assuming is going to be Leandri's or Luden's, but he's compared to the 2-item Tristana, it's just was incomparable at this moment in time. Baron spawning in just under a minute as well, and I think, as you pointed out, there's the option for them to force it, although Shane's going to see if he can force something here, and they have this Blitzcrank already taking a heap of damage from the Kog'Maw. Lilting Lullaby will connect, though, onto Dante, and they just ignore him, dropping Shig in response here. Dante's back up, though. Now they're looking to focus on the Lilia, but they just get a double kill as the damage is turned straight back around as soon as Splaf joins that fight. A 3-4-1 in favor of blue team, as finally a bigger fight develops in the mid lane, and they take it.
I think Team 8 is just very happy that it's only 19 minutes in and the Baron has not yet spawned, because otherwise this just would have been another big objective taken away in the Baron for Team 6. They might still go for it. It's spawning in 10 seconds. They will have vision control for days, but Team 8 will be back on the map, so they might have to wait a bit longer. But there, that fight, it was just going quite well for Team 8. Until Splav jumped out of his bush, blew up Dante, blew up Fault as well, and... or no, if not Fault, that was my bad. Levi, and... well, then it's over. Once Tristana jumps the fight, it's almost 3-item Tristana. No one will survive that.
Yep. Splaff is massively accelerated right now, and I think we're seeing it every time he puts those stats to use in these fights. Baron's on the map, so an option for these teams if they want to go for it. There is a Mountain Drake spawning as well in 130. If blue team were to grab that, that would put them on Soul Point, which would crank the pressure even further onto red team here in this scenario. So quite a few options for them to play with, and as kind of pointed out earlier, it's very difficult for them to push against this team. We're actually seeing the trouble that Levi faces trying to do it, as he's caught up with the Lilting Lullaby, using the wall growth, and Dante actually flashing in front of that, but it doesn't matter as Canaveri walks around the side and finds the kill onto the Lulu anyway. Delosi on a killing spree as he drops the Kog'Maw for trying to make the hero play. Punish for the Savior support. That's 2 picks. Meanwhile, Shig is just going to run into a Tristana and instantly die. 3 kills, different areas of the map. The jungler down is definitely the go symbol here, although Delosi has to be careful as he's taking a bunch of damage from this Baron. They need the Karma here to drop the heals, and Oh, the shield comes through. He's able to run away just in time. Finally, they have the numbers in the area, and despite that hiccup, there's no real contest coming through from Red Team here. This will be a 21-minute Baron going over to Team 6.
Yeah, no 20-minute Baron as I predicted, but 21-minute Baron will do, as the gold lead will just get blown wider and wider. It's already up to 8k gold, and there will be another fight in 15 seconds because there will be a Drake, and as you can see, Team 8 is already positioning to maybe even go for a trap, but Control will spot them out. This will be, I think it's going to be a very bad fight if Team 8 takes it. They are behind so far in items on every single champion except in the top lane where Daily does have 2 items. Okay, they are backing off. They are giving it up. They can do it because it is only the 3rd Drake coming out, and Mountain Drakes on a comp with no tanks, I think you can give those away.
Yeah, it's not the worst soul to be giving over, and they're not even giving it over yet. It will be soul point, which obviously will be tricky to go against, but at the same time, like you said, it's not like they're gaining massively when they do get that soul, assuming that they kind of use the lead to get the next strike that's spawning in 5 minutes. But even so, just kind of extend into another advantage the blue team can get here, and now they're ready to put this Baron buff to use, streaming down the mid lane here, and even under their own tier 3 towers. I'm not exactly sure what the option is for Red Team given the current deficit that they face. Zir finally has that Leandries in the inventory, but relative to a 3-item Tristana, it's a huge deficit that they're going to have to face, and they're not even trying to keep this mid-tier 3 up. However, a nice pick coming through on the bot side here from Falls as they catch out Splap and shut him down too, and they're going to look for the re-engage off the back of that immediately. Shig jumping back in, kept alive by that wall growth. They're focusing the damage onto Hanamari at the front of this fight, but there's enough sustain coming through to keep the remaining 4 members of blue team alive. And Lilting Lullaby used, maybe looking to see if they can try trade one back onto Daily Muppets. However, they just opened themselves up for the damage coming through from Dante, but he's just sniped by this Caitlyn. Does get the shutdown in passive form as well, but with the Kog'Maw down, we'll see if they really want to recommit to this. Shig definitely thinks he can as he manages to find Jojo on the side with the Stridebreaker. Viper Fangirl as well, overstaying and will be dropped. Bit of a blunder there from blue team, who get caught out and find the momentum just cut short for the time being.
Yeah, very well done there though, because getting those picks, you get more gold, and if you can win those fights while being behind that far, it shows that, especially later on in the game, you do have a very strong team comp. And also, I think that fight, it went exactly how Teammate wants to play. They want to isolate a single target, which they did in Splav. And then, when in a 5v4 situation with Daily Muppets on the front line, Dante and Fall, they will have that insane DPS, but instead, Daily just gonna get caught out.
Yeah, Splav can chase that forever. However, he's used a lot of his mobility. Tristana resets though, I mean, you can get in. As long as you get the kill, you're able to get out too. Nice attempt from Shig to try to trade that one back, but he just has to watch his top laner go down for free.
Yeah. The one good thing is there's no objective to be taken, there's no turret to be taken. That's the one advantage of having all your turrets already taken away. You can't lose more. The gold lead can't grow, so if you get caught out that far, okay, you lose your member, you are dead for about 35 seconds, but you won't lose that much for it.
Yeah, and you see potentially another pick coming through here as Lilting Lullaby is used, and Splap immediately jumps over the wall. Wall growth to try keep Dante alive, and he's going to fire back. A nice polymorph will stop the Tristana from finishing that one off, and once again, Splat maybe overstepping a little bit. Emperor is the fight as well to push back 3, and Red Team want this fight with the Tristana down. Shig on the flank, they're going to look for this Caitlyn, and they find her. Shig grabs that kill, and the 2 carries for blue team are down. They just have to run for the heals here. Karma can enable them to do that fairly easily, but once again, as soon as they get towards this base, they have to back off, and Shig trying to see if he can find even more off the back of this paranoia. Fear onto Jojo, Stridebreaker used as well, but the Karma's not going down just yet. I'm not sure how they completely fight this though without the Caitlyn or the Tristana nearby, just continuing to try and disengage. Dunlosi is not fortunate enough to find his way out of the danger zone. 3 more kills for Red Team in the defense of their base, and this is proving a lot tougher to crack for Team 6 than maybe they expected.
Yeah, and they just do it again. Splav again jumps in a bit too far, gets CC'd, gets taken out, and well, there you saw it. Lulu Kog'Maw, 2 items. They are gonna do a lot of damage. Also, looking at the itemization for a bit, I really like it coming out from Levi. He has not yet finished it. Okay, he has now finished it. The Mikhail's Crucible. It is such a good item when playing against the Lilia because the Lilia sleep, it has a countdown, which allows Levi to just run up to the teammate who gets put to sleep and remove it. Just nullify a whole ultimate with only a single item usage. And that is very good. That can really turn those fights around as now we have both the Drake and the Dragon spawning in 40 seconds. It seems that Team 8, they want to go for the Dragon. They are setting up a Death Bush, but Team 6, they are focusing more towards the Baron.
Oh, the Death Bush is popped here, but Splav using his mobility to get away. Rocket Jump, Gale Force, and the Tristana is 100% safe. Maybe they were hoping for a more easier target to take down, but it does allow them to keep control of this Dragon area, and Shig pushing in that mid lane wave on standby with the Paranoia to jump onto anyone that he finds going astray here. They've drawn the attention of the blue team here, who would want to get the Mountain Soul as soon as possible. Teleport being used by Jojo just to lend his strength to the area here. And red team, they're thinking 2 minds about it, kind of backing off through their own jungle. Not really in a position where they're in complete control of the area.
Yeah, the one big thing, like the Maokai ultimate is already gone as, okay, Sleep lands onto one. Paranoia comes down.
Used. We see the Drake. It will be taken here by the Nocturne, and now looking for the re-engage onto Dunlosi in the front. Stopwatch pop by this Lilia, but the CC still comes through. However, the Maokai has gone down. Frontline has fallen here. They immediately turn the damage onto Fall straight after. Splav once again jumping forward, but this time he knows his team has the advantage and that he has the backup that he needs. They've split the remaining members of the red team here. Dante trying to turn some damage back around as this Kog'Maw just needs a few more shots and a bit more survivability, but as soon as they land the CC onto him, there's no chance for him to survive. Splav gets that shutdown. They find the Lulu as well. Shig, the only remaining member of his team, as blue team take that fight, and they're looking to stream down this bot lane.
Yeah, now Shig, he last man standing. He has to go for the miracle fight, but he actually does something way smarter. He tries to clear the waves. Without minions, it will be a lot more difficult for Team 6 to clear those inhibs, to clear those turrets, and maybe finish the game. He's just stalling for time. Daily Muppets is back alive. Fault will be there in 1 second. It will still be a 4v3 until Dante and Levi come back.
Yeah, Fault maybe went a little bit too far here, but they still have enough damage to finish off the Tristana. The Azir goes down immediately in response here, but Shig, we've seen him do a lot of damage before, and he's trying to turn it onto Viper Fangirl, but the kiting coming through from the Caitlyn is going to be enough to drop this Nocturne. They see if they can get any exit kills here in their base, and they lose 2 for it, trying to see if they can trade one more back onto Dunlosi, but the Lilia can get away here. However, they can lock down the Caitlyn in response instead. The shutdown comes through for Dante. They get the flash out of Jojo as well. They forced them out of the base, but they did lose that bot inhibitor, and once again, a little bit of an overstay maybe from blue team. It seems as if they can't get out of this red team base without any casualties, but the wave in the mid lane as well, grabbing 2 inhibs for them, which is pretty big, both on the bottom side of the map as well. Will allow them even more control over this Baron area.
Yeah, that does mean no control over the Baron, but 2 super minion waves will be going into the base of Team 8, which gives them a lot more gold and just opens up that scaling even more, as Fault, he's now already on 2.5 items, as someone might get caught out.
Hinabri in a bit of an awkward position there, as the blast count didn't get him over the wall, and they chase him down, lock him down. Dante on a killing spree as he drops the Blitzcrank there, and immediately they're looking to turn the damage back onto this Baron. 4 members of blue team close by, but the Kog'Maw and the Azir should be able to get through this quite quickly, and there's no full information in the area for blue team just yet. Ace in the hole is used to try chunk this Kog'Maw out, but these Lulu shields mean he can just deny the damage. Paranoia as well to deny them vision too, and this will allow red team to snatch away a Baron against the run of play. They have to watch for the super minion waves coming into their base though, as blue team going to see what recalls they can stop. The back has already come through there. They're disengaging as far away from the Baron pit as they can. They have already got the objective that they need. Splash trying to see if he can find himself a Maokai on the way out as well, but Buster Shot will just shoot him away while he's still alive, having to flash for it, but he's going to be locked down, and he just sets himself up for Dante. Trades his own life, but I'm not sure that's worth for the Tristana there. as Red Team have managed to keep their Nexus towers alive in the nick of time off the back of that Baron buff.
Well, and just like that, 30 minutes in, and it's down to a 3k gold lead. So much has changed over the past 5 minutes as fights have been going more and more in the favor of Team 8. Dante and Vault, they've just been dealing so much damage, but also the healing and shielding coming out from a Lulu later in the game is just insane. And, well, no longer the burst damage from Splav or from Viper Fangirl can get through it. So, well, we might be getting a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, it's beginning to look more and more doable here for Red Team when it looked so dire beforehand. As you pointed out, the effect that the Lulu is having now in the late stages of the game is so visible here. Dante being kept alive a lot longer in these fights than maybe the Kog'Maw should be, just off the back of the protection that he's able to get, and he's delivering with the damage as well whenever he gets the opportunity to survive for long enough in these fights. Also, their ability to lock down anyone that they see with the Nocturne, with the Maokai, is proving fantastic for them. It just allowed them to secure a Baron there, and maybe they'll be looking for something similar here as this Drake is spawning in 20 seconds, although it's a bit of a different story as Blue Team make sure that they are the ones getting to the area first, keeping control of that bottom side of the map. And a Mountain Soul would make these picks that set them up for that last Baron a lot more difficult to come by if they can get that little bit of extra shielding from you.
Yeah, definitely. And Paranoia comes down.
Yeah, popping the engage coming through immediately here. They get the engage onto this Caitlyn at the front. Viper Fangirl has to find a way out of this fight, but just goes to the bush right in front of Dante, who's going to drop this Caitlyn to start the fight off. Has the res coming through as well, as Blue Team have to find an awkward way out of this one. Dunlosi going to go into stasis in the middle, and there's no one, absolutely no one touching this Kog'Maw. Double kill for Dante in that fight. It is only the solo laners of Blue Team left alive as they have been forced away from a potential Mountain Soul. And with the Baron buff, the push is actually going to come out here down the mid lane from Dante and co. Although Splav has managed to sneak into the Drake pit here. Shig does have Smite, so he can just secure that, but he's going to have to give over his life. And we'll see if Red Team maybe reconsider the push with their jungler going down.
That might have just been a mistake, because if Shake would have stayed with his team, it would have been a 4v2. They can just push down the inhib at least and get that. But instead, Splav, he gets a kill. Okay, they don't get Drake, they don't get Soul, but is a Mountain Soul really gonna do that much this late in the game? I don't think so, as, well, it's down to 1k gold lead. Dragons are even. And Dante, the flanking ADC, is just doing so much work.
Oh, Splav trying to get the pick, and he does manage to find a pick onto the Lulu here. Lady Muppets used the teleport as well to try cover it, but he could not save his support. Pick comes through in that top side of the map. Lulu off the map for the next 35 seconds or so, but I don't think there's too much opportunity for Blue Team to use that extra space.
I mean, picking off the Lulu, that's huge, because it stops the Mikhail Crucible from stopping asleep. It stops all the shielding and healing as... Okay, well, it's immediately a trick onto the other support, and...
Oh, big sleep onto the Kog'Maw, and the shutdown comes through from Dunlosi. This could be huge for Blue Team in this fight, but they've already lost both of their solo laners as they're just jumped on by Shig and co, but they have priority in the mid lane here. Viper Fangirl and Dunlosi just going to try take down these inhibitors before the rest of Red Team can respond. They will get the mid inhibitor here, but it's awkward for them to try to escape, especially as Levi has just responded to add to the group of people chasing them out of the Red Team base. The root comes through from this Maokai to start things off, and immediately Dunlosi pops the stasis, but he just left his AD carry out high and dry here as Shig chases down Viper Fangirl and takes them down. Dunlosi being locked in place permanently by this Maokai, and there's only so fast Lilia can run when the Maokai keeping you rooted for days. Shig gonna get another kill for themselves. 2 picks, but they did lose their mid inhibitor, as every time it seems Blue Team go to the space, they're able to chip away at these inhibitors, but having to give their lives over for it.
Yeah, Vault, he has had enough of being bullied around all game long, getting huge kills in that fight, as Dante gets picked off very early on, no longer had Levi next to him to protect him, gets picked off immediately, but instead it's Vault picking up the ropes, carrying that fight as very nice hook.
Yeah, managed to connect it around the side, but it's only a Karma close by. It was a nice hook, but not able to convert it into a kill, as I think Sheik will just go straight back to taking down that scuttle. And a nice objective for them to pick up with this Baron spawning in 20 seconds. You can see both teams already trying to wrestle control of the area. Red team having to back off for the moment, but with the Azir and Lulu shortly joining, we've seen the team fight power come out of them now. And they'll be looking for one more big engage to take down the Tristanus, take down the Caitlyn, and set themselves up for a winning team fight.
Yeah, and a winning team fight? I'm guessing it's going to be right now because the Baron has just spawned and Paranoia gets procced.
Yeah, paranoia used by Shig there, and I think that's more to get himself out of any potential danger as they don't look to fish for any sort of engage off of that Nocturne. But that could be potentially a big tool taken away from the red team here, even though that is on quite a low cooldown at this late stage in this game. The blue team have done a good job of denying vision to try set up a pick for themselves, although those Maokai saplings will disrupt their plans a little bit here. They're going to have to cede a bit of control as they see their wave going down, and Dante might have tried to find a kill onto Viper Fangirl in the scenario. Caitlyn able to get to safety, but
he is just fearless walking up with no one of his team nearby. They're on the other side of the wall and manages to burn one Gale Force and a Locket. Priority in Baron, and they will just start it up.
yeah, burning it already halfway through here. The Kog'Maw's ear damage is more than enough to take this down fairly sharpish here. The engage coming through with Dolosi's going to go over the wall to find the Baron at about 1k. It will be secured by Shig on the Nocturne, and they get the kill on Lilia as well, as blue team is just melting at the hands of the Kog'Maw and the Azir. Only the Karma survives. And they're going to go with this Baron buff. Although the recalls come through just to defend their bases, they're worried about this Karma trying to sneak in and try and grab a few Nexus towers. So maybe not the end coming through yet, but that Baron buff will allow a ton of damage to be done to the towers by Red Team over the next few minutes.
Tante and Levi are still in the top lane with a wave, with the Baron buff. TP comes down on the turret now, but I don't think that Jojo can stop this. The push from a Kog'Maw is just too much. They don't have minions, so minions are now arriving. But the timers are getting low. It's only 15 seconds left on Don Losi. Ultimates are all up. I think they're just going to stick with an inhib. And they went for the safe play. They based and stopped a potential backdoor, but I think they could have ended.
Yeah, if they'd maybe stuck to it, they could have pushed for the all-in play, but just making sure that they didn't lose their own Nexus towers here, playing it a bit safe, does enable them to get a Mountain Soul. I believe about 12 minutes ago I was saying this is surely a Mountain Soul for blue team, but how fortunes have changed in this game as red team have just managed to fight after fight after fight. They've turned it into back-to-back Barons. They've clawed their way back from 3 Drakes to 1, and now they are the ones who are looking firmly in the driver's seat of this game.
Yeah, and I mean, now it's getting to a point where if you lose a single fight, that's going to be game, because inhibs are taken down, minions will just push in. You will always have a lane to go through and end the game, so one fight and that's it. So both teams will be playing very careful. They don't have to do anything. Next objectives are spawning in 4 minutes and 5 minutes respectively as the Baron and the Elder Drake.
Both of these fish. Yeah, they don't have their Azir close by, so this could be a tricky one, but they don't need the Azir as the damage goes onto this Blitzcrank immediately. Lilting Lullaby will lock up the front line, but Dante is going to ignore it completely. Goes straight for Viper Fangirl. The kill not coming through on the Caitlyn just yet, but they have sent both Viper Fangirl and Jojo running for the hills, only able to get the 1 kill, but that's more than enough damage to force blue team to run back to their fountain and offer up this mid-tier 3.
They still have Baron, they have 2 inhibs down, they have a lot of minions, and they have the man advantage. I think this will be the end of the game, as we are... That was the game end, Buck.
Yeah, we have the freeze, which means that this is the end coming through. Red team with the comeback in that game, and given how disastrous a lot of things went early on in that one, really good fortitude from Team 8 in this game to kind of hold themselves together and just believe in the power of the Kog'Maw and the Azir late on, and the Lulu combined with that, and make the plays necessary to pull themselves back into it.
Yeah, very well done. I mean, it looked so dire. I think they were behind about 8, 9,000 gold at one point, and they still managed to claw their way back into the game. That is just very well done by the players on the side of Team 8. That scaling comp, it did work out for them in the end. The single front line was just a lot to deal with for Team 6, and they could not stop the DPS from the Kog'Maw. Quadra kill at the Baron, and the game going over to Team 8.
Yeah, relegation refugees taking the win in that one, just saying it's okay, we scale the entire time, and they will go to 2-1 here in the UK in-house league. We are going to go to another break afterwards. It will be New Lake and Crimson Cyclist taking you through our last game of the evening. So stick around, and we'll be back with the final game of the day in just a few.
Goodbye.